Today I will touch on a topic that some of you guys may not like, and that is, do DACs measure different? Because if they do measure different, definitely they will sound different. But if they don't measure differently, well, there are other factors. I will not go too deep into it that may affect the sound itself, because real music is much more complicated than just a sine sweep. But you just need to know that if there is no difference in the measurement itself, then it will have to depend on a lot of other qualities that I do not have the equipment to measure itself. But that being said, if there is a frequency response difference, definitely you're going to hear some difference because it's a frequency response, right? How I do the frequency response measurement is not through, such advanced measuring tool measuring the electrical outputs of a DAC. What I did was to feed them through the HM1 and then run it through an IEM and into the coupler itself and measure the output here. Why do I do this? Is because firstly, obviously I don't have the equipment. Secondly, this is quite realistic because this is a output device that you will hear it. So if there is a measure output difference on the output device, likely is you can hear the difference itself. Now, for this experiment, once again, emphasize again, this is only to measure the frequency response coming out of this IEM here. So, there are certain errors you must understand from this coupler, from the environment and the IEMs. That's some things that, we will take a look in this particular video here. First, I need to establish a few things, right? The HM1 is my M for the two DACs, and the reason is very simple because it has channel 1 and channel 2. But first, I need to establish that channel 1 and channel 2 is about the same, like as close as it gets. And I can show you here, what I did was use the Chord Hugo TT, interconnect with channel 1, then measure the interconnect in channel 2, and they are almost the same. Like, the difference, if there's any, is a measurement difference in the base region, and this measurement difference seems to be not due to channel 1 and channel 2, it's just the randomness in measurement below 100 Hz. It's probably due to the coupler, due to the IEM, and due to the environment. Nothing to do with, the measurement itself, and you can see that, everything above 100 Hz matches to the T. And then the other one is that the reason why we have two channels is so that we can modify some differences between DACs. Some DACs are 3.9, some DACs are 4.1, some DACs are 5, right? We need to know that the amplification stage on the HM1 is reliable. So what I did was to lower the Hugo TT significantly, then I amplify it upwards, and this is the outcome. It does track very closely, and if there is any difference, I went to take a very close look. It's in the 0.0 something difference. So it's not even 0.1 decibel level. It's like 0.03, 0.02 difference between them, and it's in the higher frequency regions itself. So you just need to know that at least when it comes to what I can measure in terms of frequency response, amplifying it significantly, in this case, for example, there is some difference, but it is very, very small, and I believe is within tolerable difference. That is what I'm going to establish. I'm not doing a scientific experiment here, but I think this is good enough. So with that all established, the question now is there a difference between DAC A and DAC B? And in this case, I use the LAiV Harmony and the Hugo TT, which is as far away as different as it gets. One is a ladder and the other one is a FPGA, not even a standard, chip DAC. So with that said, there are differences, but it really depends on the mode of the M. So on the LAiV Harmony, you can go for OS, which is oversampling, and non-OS, which is non-oversampling, right? And there is a difference. If you are doing it at 48 kilohertz, you will see a drop in the higher frequencies if you are on no oversampling mode. And if you go up the higher frequencies like 98 kilohertz, there is a difference still in the treble, but it's a little bit lesser than it is at 48 kilohertz. So oversampling and non-oversampling does make a difference, right? And then we look at the Chord Hugo TT. Now, Hugo TT has a button in the front. I've forgotten what it does exactly, but it does go from mid, medium, max. And max and mid and medium have some slight differences in the base to mids region. I can show you between max and min, there is some difference there. So what does it all mean is that depending on what mode you choose, definitely there will be some difference between DAC A and DAC B. But what if I can, select a mode that is very close to each other, right? Would that happen, right? And there is. With all the configuration considered, it's possible that LAiV Harmony have the same frequency response curve from the Maestro SE as the Chord Hugo TT in certain modes, and that is in Chord Hugo TT of a none mode, and then the LAiV Harmony in its oversampling mode. Now, just by changing the mode, both of the DACs will look different. As such, I have to conclude that it's possible that DACs sound different. It really depends on how they implement the frequency response. The thing is that most of the modern DACs today have a lot of functions in them, be it the modes, be it the filters, be it whether OS, no OS. These will affect the frequency response, which will directly translate to a slightly different sound signature. However, if a DAC is implemented the same way with the same possible modes, in this case you can see that there is a mode that will match each other, it's possible that DACs sound the same because they have the same frequency response. Of course, I'm trivializing some other of the DAC functions, such as, I don't know, some people will say things like clock, some people will say things like response, because music is not a sine sweep, so there may be other factors in play which I cannot measure, and therefore I do not want to talk more about them. But at least based on frequency response, it's possible that two DACs sound really similar, at least at the frequency level itself. And that's about it for today. I hope you enjoy my short little non-scientific experiment, because I just want to see for myself, is it possible that two DACs, at least at the frequency response level, look the same? That's about it. I'll see you guys again. Bye bye.